Boxing talks, talking about the morning. Good morning, everybody. Gonna let the list populate. Y'all know the drill. Post your flag. Where you from? Where you at? What are you doing? A few things I want to talk about. I was gonna do a segment on them, but then I was like, you know what? This is better freestyled, off the cuff. And I'll open up the panel for a few people that want to chime in on this subject. As you can see, I decided to trim my beard. It was getting, I'm a very hairy person, right? And that beard was getting really just out of control. Brock was good. Tone was good. Melvin was good. Timmy was good. Bulgaria is in the building. Ivan Georgiev. Houston, Texas is in the building. Kevin Mosby is in the building. Tim is in the building. Midwest Boxing Talks from Gary, Indiana. Same place as none other than merciless Mary McGee. Shout out to Mary McGee. Very big fight coming up in October against Chantel Kimron. UK Rob is in the building. Willie Lynch is in the building. The Outlaw Seeker. He's seeking the Outlaws. AJJJAA. Lord of the Manor is in the building. He's the Lord of the Manor. R.I.P. Evan Fields. Aye! Punchlines in the morning. Post your flags. Where you from? Where you at? What you doing? We got 33 people in the building. I want to see 33 flags. I know that the creepers are watching me. I can feel you. I can feel your eyes. Jerome Benjamin was good. IBR Stella was good. Was good. You know what I'm saying? Ireland is in the building. You know what I'm saying? So many great fighters from Ireland. Katie Taylor, Caitlin Phelan. I forgot the Olympic gold medalist's name, man. Kelly Harrington. Kelly Harrington. Yeah, man. Very exciting times. Can't wait for the Undisputed tournament. Shows you, yo, dog. And people wonder, like, there's people that look at this channel and they be like, oh, he's a shill for Eddie Hearn. He's a shill for Eddie Hearn. Why do you think? Like, I'm not shilling for Eddie Hearn. I'm just saying he makes the fights that I wanted to see. For 2 years, I wanted Chantel Cameron to get the opportunity to have title fights and fight for Undisputed, and now we're getting it. I wanted to see Mary. I wanted to see Kaylee. I wanted to see these fighters mix it up. And now I'm getting it. And you're wondering why I'm a fan of this promotional outfit. It's like a product review. If you like a product, you patronize it. You endorse it. Did you watch any of the fights this weekend? The Anderson Silva Ortiz. Look, I didn't buy that pay-per-view. The worst case scenario, not the worst case scenario, but the scenario that I was afraid of, it actually happened with Evander Holyfield, and I'm going to talk about that. Among other things, I'm going to talk about that. There's certain fights that I can't watch because I know that the fighter is past his best and he shouldn't be fighting. Muhammad Ali versus Larry Holmes is one of those fights. Muhammad Ali versus Trevor Berbick is one of those fights. I don't watch. I have stayed away from Mike Tyson's last 2 fights against McBride and against, I think it was Green. I don't watch those fights because it's hard for me to watch. I've only seen Roy Jones Jr. versus Enzo Maccarinelli. I've only seen it once, because I know that Roy, he shouldn't have been in there, those are fights that are hard for me to watch. They're very hard for me to watch. You have a 58-year-old Evander Holyfield, and Victor Belfort is not a boxer, but that doesn't change that Evander's 58 years old. He's going to be 59 next month. He's pushing 60. A commission allowing him to fight is a travesty, and it threatens the sport itself when a commission actually does this. Thank God that Evander wasn't seriously hurt, because if he was, boxing as a sport, at least in this country, could see itself on the chopping block. At some point, ethics have to come into it. It's not just about putting on a show and a spectacle. At some point, you have to have a fucking conscience. Boxing is the only sport that behaves this way. It's the only sport that consistently goes against the grain. Like, in many ways, it goes against the grain. Like, dog, that man is pushing 60. He should not be fighting at all. He shouldn't be fighting nobody. He should be fighting his sleep, not people. I'm not big on Frankie Sanchez. I think that F.A. Ajagba is going to get him. Tito getting slept was entertaining, but I mean, it wasn't entertaining enough for me to pay for it. want to talk about a couple of things that are going on out there in the boxing cosmos. It's a lot of things going on. Let me just post the link for the people on Twitter that want to come in here and have these boxing talks, because we're gonna have these boxing talks. I could feel the creepers watching me. Somebody's in here. I'm psychic, and I can feel you're watching me, creeper. Morning boxing talks. Live. Let me just post this on Twitter and we could get into these morning boxing talks. Okay, there we go. Posted the link for the people on Twitter. Yesterday there was a pay-per-view. I'm sure many of you are aware. It was a pay-per-view that featured Anderson Silva versus Tito Ortiz, John O'Carroll versus Andy Vences, I believe, and Evander Holyfield versus Victor Belfort. And that card in and of itself accents the desperate situation that the American boxing scene is in. Triller hasn't been in the world of boxing all that long, but they have fast found out how unstable it is. In the short amount of time, the short window that Triller has been in boxing, they must have buyer's remorse because of everything they've experienced with Teofimo Lopez and George Kambosos. That's a very simple fight for any promoter worth his weight in nose hair to make with experience. But for them, it's been a very arduous task. Several postponements, several issues, problems, and that's just with that fight. You look at last night's card, the entire card reads as an act of desperation. You guys are desperate to recoup whatever money you've invested into this sport, so much so that you have a 58-year-old man as a main event. A 58 going on 59-year-old man. And you're trying to use the celebrity and the buzz that he had as a boxer over 10 years ago, over a decade ago, to try and sell a pay-per-view in the postmodern era of boxing. If that doesn't reek of desperation, I don't know what does. You went as far as getting Donald Trump to commentate. That's desperation. Ryan Kavanaugh, he said, yeah, I called Obama to see if he want to commentate too. This is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And they're doing all of this to try to sell this because they know in their heart of hearts they don't have a stable of fighters. There's not much interest in the fights that they are staging. These morons took the Franchon Cruz versus Aline Cedar-Ruz fight. They took that fight off the schedule for the Fat Joe versus Joe. I'm like, yo, what are y'all doing over there? Who's running that place? That was the only fight I was into. You know that the only reason I was going to watch that shit was for that fight? That was literally the only reason I was going to watch that shit. Bruh, you ain't got to tune in to Triller to see Anita, though. How is that a selling point? Sure, she has an Instagram account. Anyway, I'm gonna open up the conversation to the panelists to see what they want to say about what's going on. I got a lot of thoughts about a lot of things. I was gonna do a segment on some of them, but we can discuss it here. One thing that I want to talk about is the scoring for Valdez versus Conceição. There were some people that agreed with me. There were some people that didn't. I feel that a lot of people, they just don't want to use common sense. They want to be altruistic and idealistic when it comes to scoring a boxing match. And you can do that if you want to. If you want to be upset, you can do that. But we all know what works and what doesn't, depending on the circumstances. We all know. All right, we got 3 panelists here. Let me just situate this right here. Okay, gentlemen, how you doing?
What's good, Rain? What's good, everybody?
What's going on, guys? Good morning. Good morning.
I'm going to start off with the Conceição. I'm going to start off Friday night's action. Oscar Valdez, Robson, Conceição. What did y'all think about that fight? What did y'all think about the scoring?
I don't think it was too. But it wasn't really close to me. Even though, but I don't know about y'all. If I noticed this. Oscar looked a little off. I think what was going on with him that was really bothering him mentally. He didn't really seem all that into the fight. He seemed like he was really forcing his work. His performance
He
seemed forced,
seemed
but he still won the fight though, in my opinion, by at least 2 rounds. In my opinion,
Okay,
anyway.
okay.
But yeah, I mean, but he just seemed off. I mean, he really seemed off.
All right, Mark, what did you think about the fight, the scoring, and Valdez's overall performance? What did you think about that?
I thought the fight was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight, actually. Everybody keeps talking about the scores, but first of all, it was actually a really entertaining fight. There was a lot going on in there, and there was moments both guys got hurt in there. The scoring, I disagree with it. I thought Kansai Sao did enough to win. And I thought it was kind of clear. But that's just from my standpoint, right? And then as far as Oscar's performance, yeah, he wasn't up to his usual standard. Well,
Mark, do me a favor. Read the super chat and then continue.
Holyfield was in cover. Fuck off. I can't read that shit.
Yo, that's how old he is, B. That's how old he is.
Yeah.
Keep going, Mark. Keep going. Talk to me about what you thought about.
I don't know if Oscar's performance was as lackluster as some people like to make out. Robson's a back-footed fighter. Oscar thrives on people who come forward. When you fight on the back foot, take Adam Lopez even, you cause him more issues. Way more issues. Robson's just better than Lopez.
Yeah. I mean, Lopez, that's the thing that
Oscar can't cut the ring off. He goes in straight lines.
And that's that. No, I mean, you hit the nail on the head. Burchell is a come forward, aggressive, volume puncher. He feeds into what Oscar wants to do. Robson has been giving this guy problems since the amateurs, and he's a back foot, lateral movement, stick and move fighter. So he's gonna struggle. He is gonna struggle. That's a given. I think if Robson would have had more experience, because that was the first time he ever fought in a 12-round fight, and I don't think a lot of people realize that. That was the first time he fought in a 12-round fight. And he fit, for me, at least what I saw, after round 6 or just around round 6, he laid off. He took his foot off the gas. Because
Agreed.
in the early goings of the fight, from round 1 to round 5, maybe even a little bit of 6, he wasn't just jabbing and moving. He was getting off first. He was getting off before Oscar. Oscar's not even getting to throw a jab because Conceição was throwing his first and already setting up his shots. He was going upstairs, throwing jabs upstairs, putting a little something downstairs. He was doing this for the first 5 and 6 of the fight. But after 6, I think because he don't have that much pro experience, because he never fought in a 12-rounder, the pace caught up to him. And that's when Oscar, at least on my card, got into the fight. I had Oscar winning maybe 1 round, and to me it was a swing round. I'm trying to remember which round it was. I think it was round either 3 or round 4.
You had a 4-2 after 6. 4-2 after 6.
Yeah, I had it 4-2 after 6. I gave Oscar the 6th. I know I gave Robson the first 2, so I'm gonna say that I gave Oscar the 3rd round. And for me, it was a swing round. Like, look, Robson didn't look bad in that round, but Oscar looked better. And I know where they are. I know what these judges are thinking. I know what they like. And they're gonna some of them, they're gonna give Oscar that round. And if you look on the card, if you look on the actual card, I think 2 of them gave him that round. 2 of the judges gave Oscar the 3rd round. It is what it is. Even without giving Oscar that 3rd round, right? Let's say you give it to Conceição. The point deduction really didn't help nothing. That is controversial because I don't think he should have been deducted a point.
I thought he actually won that round, by the way. I need to say that.
I don't think, like, look, and I'm like, people think I'm going up the bat for Oscar. I'm telling you what I scored it, why, and what I think is going on. Do I think that Robson should have been deducted a point? No, he wasn't trying to hit that man on the back of his head, and he wasn't even fucking warned. The thing is, I also know you have to have common sense. You're in Tucson, Arizona. You need to fight the fucking fight of your life, bro. Period.
I thought that ref was very biased. Anybody agree?
All right, I'm gonna go to Isan. Isan, what you think about Conceição versus What'd you think about Sal versus Valdez, and what do you think about the scoring for that fight?
I'm still. Can you guys hear me fine?
Huh?
You guys can hear me? I got my AirPods. I just want to make sure you can hear me.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, like, I agree with a lot of Mark said and a lot of what you said. I think that it was a good fight, and the scoring, the only bad card was 117 to 111, honestly. But people crying robbery. No, it wasn't a robbery. I think things went on in the fight, and you know how people are when they see things that go on in a fight, they like to project it onto other things. So like they say, oh, a point deduction. Oh, Oscar's getting favored, and then they're gonna put that all into the scoring because they think Conte Sal won. But they gotta realize, like, dude, this is professional boxing, and you guys may not like it, but what people and fighters too, because Conte Sal, he should have realized this, dude. You can't go into a championship fight and cruise. That's not what you do. That's what Lara did with Canelo. Remember we talked about the other day. You can't
Yeah.
go into a championship fight in a guy's backyard, especially if you're from a whole different country. You see how they do guys over here. Why would you go into a championship fight and you think you can cruise after you put in a good amount of work the first 6 rounds? Because I thought Conte Sal probably won like the first maybe won like 5 of the first 6. But I thought Oscar definitely took the second half for sure. I think maybe I gave Conte Sal like 1 round of the second half maybe. And plus the point deduction didn't help him either, which was bullshit because Oscar, he literally actually hit him behind the head twice in the following round. Like literally he hit him behind the head, and the referee didn't
However,
even warn.
But you know what I'm gonna?
Can I say something to that? Can I just say something to that? There's a difference between a foul and an intensive foul. So even though Robson, I don't think he should have been deducted a point, right? When Oscar caught him in the back of the head with those 2 hooks, Robson turned his head. So that doesn't fall on the fighter. He wasn't intentionally trying to hit him in the back of the head. He landed on the back of his head because he turned his head.
That makes sense. But
I see what you mean. That the discretion of the referee, the reason, and I do agree. Like I noticed it. Don't get me wrong. I noticed it too. That Robson meant to do what he did. He wasn't warned before because he didn't do it before. But when I saw Robson hit him in the back of the head, you meant to do that. You did mean to do that.
It was a pat, though. It was a pat.
No, it was because they were gonna break up, so he patted him.
Ultimately, I don't think he should have been even though he meant to do it, because I believe he meant to do it. Regardless of him meaning to do it, it still should have got a warning, like, hey, clean it the fuck up. Don't fucking do that again or I'm gonna deduct a point. You don't just deduct a point. You don't just do that. You doing that accents what Isan is saying. You in Tucson, Arizona. This is an Oscar Valdez crowd. Do you really want to try your luck?
I'll tell you though, I think Conte Sal could get some guys problems.
Keep going, Isan.
Oh, no, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah, my main issue with the point deduction was that there was no warning. Like, I understand like that he tapped him behind the head, but the context matters. They were about to be broken up, and the thing is he was tapping Oscar's shoulder, then the back of his head, which he shouldn't have done. I agree with that 100%. But I also feel like, dude, you gave Oscar 2 warnings. And I know he Conte Sal turned his head with it, but still, you gave him 2 warnings. You didn't give him 1, so it looks how it looks. But all in all, it was a good fight. But what people gotta realize is, like, you gotta try to think like a judge sometimes, because at the end of the day, that's what matters. The judges' scorecards, and people gotta learn how to score fights too. You can't just cruise like it's a hurt business. You can't just cruise when another guy is coming forward on you, landing sometimes. But it's his hometown. He's going to get the benefit of the doubt in every close round. And if your activity is low and his is higher, which I don't think it was necessarily, because you see it from the punch stats and their faces as well. And people were saying that Conte Sal was running and shit. I'm like, dude, do you not see Oscar's face? If Conte Sal was running, I couldn't imagine if he would have, quote unquote, planted his feet there.
No, I mean, look, I think that people say things quite opportunistically, because that's
They're just
not
mad about Oscar's situation. Really, that's what it is.
That's what I think. That's what I think the whole thing
like
is
Sonny
for a lot
Edwards,
of people. I aren't going to do Oscar any favors. Yeah, they're not going to do people any favor. They're not going to do Oscar any favors because of the pet stuff, and they're angry about that. So they're scoring the fight with that type of stuff in mind. That, like, if you saying what you're saying, it has more to do with the herbal tea stuff than the actual fucking fight. For me, Conce Sal definitely laid off in the last half of the fight. He came alive a little bit in the 11th, where he went out there like, yo, show something, let Oscar be the one that gets off first because he's already moving you to the back of the ropes. You don't get there by yourself. You are put there. And this guy's been putting you there round after round after round. It looks the way that it looks. You were landing on this guy, but that was the first half of the fight was getting off first, where you wasn't waiting for him to do nothing. No, I'm going to do something. I'm going to throw my jab at you. I'm going to aim at your midsection. I'm going to hit you. That's what he was doing in the first half. In the second half, you let this guy lead the dance. And it's to me, it was obvious because it's like, yo, dog, this is not a hard fight to score. But if you want to be altruistic and idealistic, all right, then you're going to be way off. Because I can see they're not going to give Robson those rounds. They're not.
Nah, no way. No way. You already know how they do on people over here. You already know how it goes. It's you literally go into a fight with that mentality. They're not going to do the foreigner any favors. It's not going to happen. So why would you go into that fight on cruise control, dude? And he really could have won that fight if he would have fought a little more from like the 6th to the 9th. I think I agree with you. I think he took the 11th round on my card as well. He could have probably. I mean, he probably wouldn't have got the decision, but he.
I'm gonna take it East on your mic. I'm gonna take it to Virtuoso. Virtuoso, what'd you think about that fight, the scoring, the performance, all of it?
I thought the fight was really good to watch. I mean, really entertaining because Conceição, he really showed me something, man. The speed and the quickness on his feet and his hands and the distance. He was a good judge of distance, keeping, Oscar Valdez at bay. It was really worrying seeing him like kind of struggle to get inside. Midway through the fight, I thought, Conceição started to lose shape, getting a little tired, slowing down, not throwing as many punches as he would. And that led Oscar to really lead the fight, trying to throw to the body, but not really, successful in, getting any damage on Conceição's skin, on the head. The scoring, I knew the scoring was going to be subjectively for Oscar. I mean, it was written in the stars that the promotion, the press, the who they were going to select as a ref, even though I thought he was more like, I would say, incompetent than corrupt. I felt the promotion was right behind him. So if you're saying that there's implicit, well, not even implicit bias, it was explicit bias right there from the promotion, and even though there was bad press for Oscar Valdez, he was going to win. So why go on cruise control like from like 7th through like 11th round? I think he hit the autopilot button too soon. I think he should have just stepped it up. He should have stepped it up. He should have really put the hurting on him because it was showing signs of it in his face. But yeah, he's still functional enough to come forward. But you got to stop him from coming forward. You can't let this guy get to you. And you really got to take it. Really got to bring it to him. So if it's a hometown quick decision, don't seal the food off his plate. That's what I'm saying.
I mean, what the thing is, look, I just saw a girl yesterday, right? And it's funny the timing of all these things. I saw a girl travel to Ekaterinburg, Russia yesterday and win a decision, right? And she didn't give the other girl she didn't give the judges the opportunity for things to be close, contentious. No, you fight this whole fucking fight like it's the fucking fight of your life. You know what time it is. You're in Ekaterinburg, Russia, not Mexico. You got to go over there with that mentality that like, yo, I can't give nothing away. The girl managed to win a decision. You know what I mean? It is what it is. Whereas with Robson, I don't give a shit about people's altruism or their idealism. If you do that shit and you're on foreign soil, you're gonna fucking lose. It's that simple. You don't have to like it. It's that fucking simple. Now, if the fight were in Brazil, all right, maybe you could get away with that. But the fight's not in Brazil. It's in Oscar's neck of the woods, where he got a bunch of fans. So what the fuck do you think is gonna happen while you're doing this?
Can I give my quick point of view?
All right.
I think there's a whole host of ways people look at boxing, and I think many people kind of fall apart on the idea and the subjectivity in the sport. rather than looking at what the sport is. It's a round by round scoring criteria. It's just a round by round scoring criteria. And if you want to punish a fighter for fighting his way and credit another fighter for fighting his way, that's purely subjective and completely up to whoever's doing it, I guess. As far as I seen that fight, the first 5 rounds, I gave to Robson, and I thought it was quite comfortable. I don't see how Oscar won the third. He landed a couple more power shots than he did in the previous rounds. And based off of the previous rounds, he did better than he did in the first 2 rounds. But Conseil himself still did better than him. He was largely ineffective in what he was trying to do. So after the first 6, Oscar won the 6th round for me. And then he won the 7th, and he won everything up until the 10th. And Robson regained his strength, made Oscar miss quite a bit, and landed punches. Now, I understand the idea. This is in Oscar's back garden and everything. That's cool, and I understand that boxing has been that way for a very long time. I still don't think it would be very fair for me to just say, well, hey, you're in this guy's back garden. You need to fight the fight of your life. I think he did fight the fight of his life. That's the best I've ever seen him fight. And the other guy gets credit just because of a location rather than what he did in the ring, which is purely why I watch the sport. The sport's called boxing, not where are you from. And that's mostly narratives. There's a lot of narratives in the sport. I mean, we can go for the pound-to-pound thing is just a narrative. Can never be proven on proximity. You can go for order of merits if you like. Doesn't prove anything because it pretty much means everybody's considered on an even keel. And it becomes a numerical statistical thing, which takes away the actual skill and concept that's individualized within the sport. I don't think it was a robbery. I thought it was a bit questionable. I don't really understand what all the hoopla is about from either side. Whether you're on the peripheral of Conceição won the fight or you believe Valdez won the fight, whatever arguments people try to use in favor of it, both sides, it's narrative. It's nothing is really.
It's all
genuine.
narrative. I mean, to me, look, it's all narrative. But I look at Rigondeaux versus Casemiro, right? And I'm thinking to myself, there's people who at least reacted that there were some people that felt that Rigo should have got the decision. And I'm thinking to myself, these people lack a lot of common sense because I'm looking at and I'm like, there's no way they're going to give him these rounds. Otherwise, common sense is just not common. You're not going to win on the back foot doing that. Not against champion. I'm sorry. It didn't work for Lara. It worked even less for punches than Lara. Robson, he threw more punches than the both of them. But
can I say something?
You just said a lot, Mark. You just said a lot.
Just to that, he threw more. He landed more punches than Valdez, Lara, Casemiro, and Rigondeaux did combined.
Be that as it may, didn't you just say they're round? And the funny thing is, Al Bernstein said it best on Twitter, and I'll read his tweet when I get the laptop back up because the laptop's acting up. It's the totality of punches. CompuBox has absolutely nothing to do with how the fight is scored. Judges don't take that stuff into the equation. They're watching the fight in real time, and the scoring is subjective. Based on their subjective scoring, which has consistencies, there are constants. If you're on the road and you're facing the champion in his you need to make it decisive. That was not breaking decisive. Up. Hold up. Can you hear me now?
Absolutely.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Much better. Sounds better.
All right, real quick. Could I chime in real quick?
Yeah, I just want to ask a question. Just to everybody on the panel, whilst everybody is here. So, a lot of people say... Yeah, I'm just asking everybody a question on the panel, Julius. A lot of people say Robson didn't do enough. What did he not do enough of? Did he not do enough to win the boxing match, or did he not do enough to win in a different country because of A side, B side shenanigans? Which is it?
I would say he didn't do enough to win because of A side and B side shenanigans, because whether people like to accept it or not, that's a factor. Like, I think that a lot of people are very childish when it comes to this. It's kind of like you know better, but you don't want to admit you know better. You know better. You
But
know.
you know,
And if you wanna be, it's kind of like, look, if I chill with a bunch of people that do a bunch of bad shit, but I don't do a bunch of bad shit, but they do a bunch of bad shit, and I be around them when they do a bunch of bad shit. If some bad shit happen to me, yeah, you could say that I don't be doing that shit all motherfucking day. You around the company you have. What's gonna happen to you is gonna happen to you. You have to have common sense. Now, I saw Clarissa Shields. I saw Devin Haney. I seen a lot of fighters saying, yo, this fight is getting away from Robson, while I see fans scoring the fight for Robson. I'm like, yo, y'all wilding.
yeah, but
Motherfucking Alexis, shout out to Alexis Rimbero, Asawache. He had this shit. I think he had this shit like 11-1 or 10-2 for fucking Robson.
Ridiculous.
I'm
yeah,
like,
but
yo, you
Julius,
crazy.
yeah,
Oh
but
wow.
Julius, here's one thing you're missing, right? A lot of the boxers that were going on Twitter speaking about the fight, they were judging it objectively. The fans were judging it subjectively. So when it comes down to the fight, I'm a former fighter, right? I didn't make it to the pros, but I was an amateur, right? One thing they told us before a fight: if you're fighting in a fighter's hometown, automatically put in your mind you're down 2 rounds already
Mm-hmm.
going into the fight. So I know it's not fair, but it's the best way I could compare it to is in football, right? Like let's say that they're at the 1 yard line and they just need that one extra yard to go in for the touchdown, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now let's say like the running back rushes in and like they can't really see who's gonna who if he crossed the plank. What they're gonna do is most likely they're gonna give it to the offensive team, most likely, right? It's an unwritten rule. So what's his name? The guy for Oscar last night. I keep forgetting his name.
Robson can't say so.
All right, Robinson, right? Robinson, I had him winning in the beginning, right? But I had him slipping towards the end. And what he should know, knowing that, is like if the fight is close, it's not gonna go your direction. So he shouldn't have stepped off the gas. Knowing that.
Look, I'm gonna say
I feel like
I'm gonna say this. I'm gonna say this. Boxing is not the sport for you to be altruistic. You could be altruistic with objective sports like the MLB, the NFL, the NHL, the NBA, tennis. You could be objective, but we all know there's a lot of subjectivity in boxing. We know that. We know that if you fighting, just like you said, if you in the next guy's backyard, you can't be doing shit like that. So if I scored a round for the other guy, I'm keeping up with the decorum of boxing because that's what the fuck happens. And people don't like that shit, but yo, that's what the fuck happens. The fuck you want me to score the shit based on like altruism? The damn judges themselves don't do that.
I don't think altruism's really the fairest of words because it means that you're being biased in favor of one guy.
No, altruism means you're being selfless. And I know that the judges aren't selfless, so why would I score a fight selflessly? I know that the judges aren't
It's a
selfless.
selfless concern for the well-being of others, unselfish.
Okay, well, the well-being of the fighters, the well-being of the sport. There's people that score fights that way. If you're fighting, look, Huey Fury fights the fight that he fought in Bulgaria against Kubrat Pulev. Maybe they give him a decision. Andy Ruiz fights the fight. Fix your mics because y'all got a lot of background noise in y'all mics. If Andy Ruiz fights the fight that he fought against Joseph Parker in America, yeah, he might win a decision, but not in New Zealand, and that's where you fought. That's a matter of fact. You're in New Zealand.
I thought he lost that fight 7-5 anyway, whether it was at America.
But you're not the only one. There were people that scored the fight for Andy. There were people that said they weren't impressed with Parker. They liked how Andy looked. The point that I'm making is this is boxing, all right? And it's been that way. If people want to remove all the common sense, go ahead, remove the common sense.
Well, we can look at another fight, like let's say a Chisora and Joseph Parker, right? Mm-hmm. Most people thought Chisora beat Parker. That was in the UK. Mm-hmm. Parker came away with the decision there, even though he got dropped.
I agree.
And it looked like he lost the majority of the rounds. I mean, I don't think it's just as simple as location or anything like that. I think there are people who are favoritized even by sanctioning bodies, and I understand that. I've known this for a very long time watching the sport. And the idea that you've raised, getting frustrated with the judging in the sport, or sometimes you can say corruption, other times you can say, I don't know, whatever you want to go with. One thing that I've always held very accountable to myself is it is a round by round pace scenario. When I hear people say this guy slowed down in a fight, yes, that doesn't necessarily mean if you slow down, you just lose every single round. You can still win a round or two if the other guy isn't up to the pace either. And that happens. Just because a guy is doing better than he did earlier in a fight doesn't mean he's doing better in each round than his opponent. His opponent can still be doing better than him. He can just close the gap.
Agreed. Hold on, let me just fuck with the logo for a second. What I'm saying is based on what I'm used to seeing in the sport of boxing, at least me, based on what I'm used to seeing, you're losing. Now, I don't know if that's how the judges have it. I'm guessing that that's how they have it. That's what I'm guessing, that you're losing, you're down. And as it turns out, yeah, you were down.
To add, wait,
Because
you know what? Let me add something to that, right? In every sport, not only in boxing, there's certain rules that are not rules, but it's an understanding that everybody has, right? For example, in basketball, certain stars will get certain calls, when they don't deserve it. Tom Brady, if you accidentally hit him after he throws the ball, you're gonna get a flag automatic, right?
mm-hmm.
So like when I say that to say this: certain things you understand in every sport and in boxing as well, right? So where I fault Robinson in is the fact that he knows that he's not the promotion is not for him. As a matter of fact, the referee took a point off of him without giving him a warning. So
And what does he do? And bro, and what does he do in the 12th? You see what I mean? You just got a point deduction without a warning, and that was in the 9th. So that in the 12th, you could start shuffling like you want, like, yo, you wildin'.
Exactly.
You need every round.
So you know this. You understand? And like the reason why the reason why I can't really cut him no slack is because he's been a professional boxer for a couple of years. He knows how the game goes. He knows.
I mean, I agree. Look, that's my point. My point is common sense. My point is common sense, folks. Motherfuckers need to start using it. And look, if you don't want to use common sense, then fucking don't. But don't bother me. Because the fight I see, that's about 8-4 to 7-5, Valdez. Based on common fucking sense. 8-4, 7-5. I'll argue 7-5 because at least one judge didn't give Oscar the I think it was the 3rd round. At least one didn't. And it was a swing round to me. Like, yo, I could have seen Robson winning that round, but because they're in Oscar's neck of the woods, I think the judges gave it to Oscar. I was right to assume that because I think 2 of them did. It was either the 3rd or the 4th. It was one of them swing rounds in the first half of the fight. And it's like, yo, dog, you got to use common sense at the end of the day. If you don't want to have no common sense, cool. Just don't bother me. Because a lot of this shit is common fucking sense. Yes, Oscar's face looked like a beat up avocado. That's because he was getting lit the fuck up in the first half of the fight. In the second half of the fight, Oscar was on the offensive. Your back is on the ropes. You're circling away from him. Who's landing the eye-catching shots? Oscar is.
I thought both of them did the second half of the fight.
Well, I'm telling you, I thought he didn't, and neither did the judges. And I'm trying to see what they're thinking. I'm not worried about what somebody in their living room. I'm not worried about somebody in their living room scoring a fight. I'm trying to get in the judge's head to see who's ahead on the cards. That is what I'm doing.
Like you did with Jacobs Rosado, right?
Yeah, like I did with Dubois versus Joyce. When y'all had Dubois, y'all had Joyce up and I had Dubois up. Who the judges have up?
They had Dubois up, apparently.
Yeah, and that's what I'm doing. If you want to score the fight,
did they release the scorecards for that?
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
How else would we know? I did a video on it.
Okay.
Now, if you want to have Joyce up on your card in your house, that's great. I'm not worried about what you have on your card in your house. I'm trying to keep up with who's actually winning the fight based on the judges. I mean, that's why they have an anecdotal card on the bottom right of the screen, whether it's Steve Farhood or Andre Ward or Marcos Villegas. That's what the anecdotal card is for, to give you an idea of the direction of the fight.
I mean, it's not hard. I mean, if everybody were to do that, it's not hard. It's very easy. Who's the A side? Who's the B side? Who's at home? Who's the touted fighter with the promotion, right? Then you know who's winning on the cards, right? The idea of us doing our own scorecards, I always thought, was for discussion. If we don't have the discussion, we're not here on this panel today, and you haven't made $25. So I don't know why you're bent out of shape.
I'm not
Yeah,
bent
but
out of
you
shape
guys,
over it.
you guys are looking at it from a logical standpoint. A lot of fans look at it from an emotional standpoint because going
Thank
into
you,
the,
thank you, Chris. Because the shit that I seen after the fight, I said, look, I got this guy 7584,
yeah,
7584.
that's
All
a
right, and,
lot.
and what happens? And what happens? People get upset. No, you're upset at boxing. All right. Now, if you're gonna get upset at boxing every fucking weekend, you should probably stop watching boxing because you're not using common sense. And if you don't want to use, then don't fucking use common sense.
Like I
But don't
said,
bother me.
you're using a logical
Okay,
standpoint.
even Tim Bradley said it wasn't a robbery. Earlier in the week, he said he wanted Valdez to get knocked out.
Tim Bradley wasn't biased towards motherfucking Oscar, and even Tim Bradley said that. Yeah, Robson let the fight get away from him. If somebody chooses not to see that, or they don't see that, that is your fucking problem.
Okay, I want to say the best example I can remember of a robbery, a straight robbery, is I always say this is Darley Perez versus Maurice Hooker.
Yeah, I
Maurice
agree with
Hooker,
that.
Maurice Hooker didn't win 2 rounds in that fight, and they give him a draw.
I agree.
That is a robbery.
I agree.
This wasn't a robbery. This was a close fight.
Look, 2
I can
weeks
tell you a
ago.
bigger robbery: Lara versus Paul Williams.
That's a robbery. That is a robbery.
That's a robbery.
That's a robbery. All right. Like, I'll say Vlasov versus Smith was more alarming to me, or at least tighter, because when I was watching the fight, I'm like, yo, this is tight, dog. They're gonna have to work real fucking hard to give Joe some of these rounds. They are. I'm looking at it. I'm thinking to myself, like, yo, it just doesn't look good. This, I didn't feel that way. This, I'm looking at it like, nah, you're giving it away. Based conventional wisdom, you're giving it away. You know what I mean? Maybe if you were somewhere else that you could get away with what you're doing, but I know that where you are, you won't get away with it. And other people are seeing it, and they know you won't get away with it. You need to do more.
Okay, if you expect to win a round by landing 3 more shots than your opponent, if you're expecting that, I don't know.
No, but
You can
no,
do
la
it. You can
verdad.
do it. It's not wrong, but in enemy soil, you can do it. It's your choice.
Listen. This is all I'm saying. It's not about endorse. It's about common fucking sense. That's all it is. Common sense. Kiko Martinez, right? He goes to the UK. He fights Zelfa Barrett, right? He applied a lot of pressure. But I know in the UK, yo, you're gonna have to hit this guy with a chair to get this decision. To me, in my eyes, based on conventional wisdom, Zelfa Barrett lost that fight for the same reason that Robson Conceição lost that fight. It's the same logic. Same reason that I don't think Rigo did enough. The same reason I don't think Lara did enough. The same reason I think Huey Fury didn't do enough with Pulev and Parker. You're not doing enough. There's a when you're on the back foot and you're moving laterally and you're circling away from your opponent, there's a very thin line between retreating and setting a trap. And if you do more moving than setting traps, okay, now you're just retreating. And that is how it will be interpreted.
All I ever
Okay,
asked for, Robson Sal. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
for me, a boxing match tries to determine who is superior, round by round. If you are superior, if you can see clearly that you are superior for 7 rounds, you won. If you can demonstrate that in the world fight, you can. No puedes decir que fue un robo.
Lo que yo voy a decir es esto. También lo que empeora la situación es que Oscar, he had to work for it. Even the rounds that he won, he had to work for. And I think that this is one of those things that gets lost in the sauce. They're like, yeah, he's struggling. He's definitely struggling. And even in rounds that he's winning, he's struggling, but he still picked up the round. And the fight is going to be determined by the totality of rounds that the fighters picked up. I saw Oscar pick up enough, and with the point deduction, that really didn't help it, because you could have argued that this thing was a draw. You could have argued, like, look, take away the judges and take away the bullshit. Robson Conceição sweep the first 5 rounds.
I think he
First
did.
5.
And to add to that, Julius, I just wanted him to duplicate those rounds into the latter half,
or at least 2 times.
If I see you like playing prevent defense, right, but you're not making him pay for it. I mean, yeah, you know, Oscar is struggling, but like his quality of his punches was the only thing edgewise that for all people talk about, you know, is the CompuBox numbers. The only punch category he had edgewise was body punches. Did the body punches force Conceição to fight to fight more, you know, retreat style, like defensive style, like try to hit him with just jabs and just trying to escape the pressure? You're just giving like fighting that way to me does not convince the judges, like pragmatically.
This is like, look, what's Robson Conceição, an Olympic gold medalist, comes from that background,
Yeah.
same as Guillermo Vergandial. That fucking style in the sport of boxing, you're gonna get these situations because that style is defensively minded and it doesn't center around taking it to the man opposite the ring. It doesn't center, it's not focused around that. So it creates an environment for these conversations that, like, yo, dog, you want to win on your back foot. That's hard to do. I'm sorry. Yes, it's hard to do.
I got the perfect fight that breaks down this whole thing. Jean Pascal versus Bernard Hopkins 1. When Jean Pascal knocked down Bernard Hopkins twice, Bernard Hopkins knew he was in Canada. He had to sweep the whole fight from the 4th round on to at least get a draw.
And in the pocket. And in the pocket. Not on the fly. Not on the fly. Not on the run. Not out. Not fucking out there. Not out there somewhere. All the way out there somewhere. In the pocket.
Bernard was on his ass. And like from the foot, I gave Bernard from the 5th all the way to the 12th, all those rounds. I actually thought Bernard won that fight, the first one.
Now, Alexis is here, and Alexis made a tenuous comparison between Floyd Mayweather Jr., the way that he fights, and the way that Robson Conceição fought. And I told him yesterday, Alexis, you're here, I see you in the comments, that you cannot stop comparing Floyd to every pure boxer. Floyd wasn't just an outside fighter. A good chunk of Floyd's fights are in the pocket. The Canelo fight was in the pocket. The Cotto fight was in the pocket. He's not retreating. He might pivot. He might shift. He might get to the side of the guy, but it's in the pocket. He's not retreating. Now, you got a guy, you want to start off the round with your back against the rope, circling away. What does it look like to the judges, man? It looked like, yo, this guy's coming forward. You can't hold your position at the center of the ring, so you give up that ground. You're already conceding in the eyes of the judges when you do that. The only way you can make it right is if you set a trap. If you land an eye catch, like, look, Josh Taylor got backed into the corner by Jose Ramirez. What does Josh Taylor do? He sets a fucking trap. He knocks him down. Catches him right there on the sweet spot. That's what you got to do if you going back up. Like, yo, you better land something big. Gabriel Rosado was backed into the rope spot. Bektamir Malakuziev, he was retreating until he knocked the motherfucker out. Because if you're not doing that, okay, now you're just retreating. You are retreating. You might be buying yourself time. I'm not going to call it outright running, but it looks like what it looks like when he's coming forward and you're backing up, and now it's your back on the ropes. It looks like what it looks like.
Another fight. Lomachenko and Teofimo. When Lomachenko fought Teofimo, the first, I could say 6 rounds, Loma was moving. He didn't do anything to show the judges that he wanted to win. But when he noticed that he was losing, he was behind, and he stepped it up. Loma swept the last, I could say, from 6 to 11, and I gave that 12 to Teofimo. That's why I said that fight could either be a draw or it was Teofimo. But I didn't see Lomachenko winning. I agree with that. That if it's not a draw, Lopez won. Because I didn't see Loma win.
If so, to me on my card, it's a draw. It was a draw on my card. But I'd give it to Lopez before I give it to Loma because you didn't do shit. You came out literally not doing shit. How the fuck you gonna win doing that?
Even in those rounds, I gave to Teofimo. I didn't think he'd even like threw enough to really separate himself. Like, which is why it's like weird to me why he didn't like really take it to him for the first like half. Like, I really thought that he should have built up his offense more and try to make a case to himself, you know, at the end of the fight.
I mean, like, look, my thing is that people see a fighter get their back put on the ropes and they don't, it's like they don't press. Don't you see his back is on the ropes? Unless you land something big, you walk him into a shot, that's not a good look. Your back don't just end up there for no reason. You were put there, all right? So if your back is on the ropes, I hope that you're connecting regularly. I hope. Because if you're not, you're losing.
Yeah.
Alexis, you had the fight.
If it scored round
Wait, well, let me get to Alexis. Alexis, you had the fight 10 rounds to 2. Am I exaggerating or am I on point?
Or which fight? The
whatever. The Conceição.
The Valdez, I had it like 9-3 at the most. Conceição. But let me tell you something.
You wilding, bro. That's what I'm saying. Like, you wilding.
Let me talk.
Let the man speak.
Let me talk.
Alexis, go ahead.
First of all, something's off the bat, and I'm going to take your example to show the inconsistency. You said first 5 rounds to Conceição, right? I say the first 6 rounds to Conceição. The thing is that none of the judges gave those first 5 rounds to Conceição. So what was going on? None of the judges.
All right,
gave
Alexis,
the first 5 rounds to
let me answer
Conceição.
your question.
As a matter of fact,
let me answer your question,
like 3-2
Alexis.
or something like that. So
Alexis, let me answer your question. But let me answer your question. I told you I said it during the fight. The 3rd round is a swing. They swung at the Valdez. You surprised?
The point is that it wasn't a swing. So let me just talk because you're going to like what I'm going to say. Because I'm not totally tilted one way, despite how you're trying to paint me. Okay? The other thing is, so I gave the first 6 rounds to Conceição. The other thing is, as far as me comparing Floyd Mayweather to everybody who boxes, that's not happening. I understand one of the most amazing performances I've ever seen in my life, I've said over and over again, was Floyd Mayweather, what Floyd Mayweather did to Canelo Alvarez. Okay, everybody keeps saying that Floyd runs and runs and runs, but Floyd doesn't run. Floyd stays in front of you. He makes you miss right in front of you. He embarrassed Canelo, and that's exactly what he was able to do to Manny Pacquiao. So I'm not from that school. Okay, I'm not comparing, but I will tell you this. Conceição in the first 5-6 rounds stood in the pocket enough. He stood in the pocket enough. He had telling blows. What happened in those first 6 rounds? Why couldn't he get all those rounds? Okay. The other thing is this. Now here's the counterpoint to that, because I can think of things both ways. Okay. So now I got to ask myself, what possibly could have a judge seen that not to give the round to Conceição besides the investment that Top Rank has in Valdez, Shakur Stevens getting made? What I can say is this, that Conceição, the flaw that Conceição did was turn his back to Valdez in those rounds that he did. When he actually gave his back to Valdez and tried to look cool for school and do sweet shit, even though in my eyes he won the round based on the fact that that Valdez didn't land shit, that he looked stupid. And that Valdez and that Conceição, to my estimation, did enough to win the round. But the moment he turned his back and walked away, I could see a judge saying, you can't get that round. Okay? So don't paint me into some corner where I'm this and that, because you have what, 140 characters to express yourself on Twitter? I can't tell you exactly what I'm trying to say.
Okay, Alexis, did you not make? I said that amateur style that Robson Conceição likes to use. I said that shit don't work in the pros like that, man. And you the one that brought up Floyd. You said it worked for Floyd. You said that. You had more characters there that you could have used to elaborate upon your point, but you chose to bring up Floyd. Floyd mostly fights in the pocket. Conceição fights on the outside, on the run. That's what he do. That's their Emmy shit.
Right. But Conceição in the first 5-6 rounds did fight in the pocket.
No, he didn't.
And that's
no, he didn't.
Fought in the pocket.
No, he didn't. No, he didn't.
I disagree, Rick. I thought he did. I thought he was right in front of him.
Can I talk? Is what I want to know. I would like to know. I would like to know if I can talk. That's what I want to know. What he was doing, it wasn't in the pocket. It's that he wasn't waiting for Valdez to throw. That's what he was doing. That's why he was winning on my card in the first 5, because you're not waiting on Valdez. You the one that's initiating the exchange by throwing a jab upstairs,
okay, so
throwing a jab to the body, and those were straight punches. Those wasn't hooks. Those were straight punches.
Then you and I have a different estimation as to what being in the pocket means.
If you have to bend your arm, okay. If you have to bend your arm, I'm gonna explain to you what the pocket is. If you have to bend your arm to throw the punch, you in the pocket. If you have to.
So when it's extended, it's not the pocket. Even though
because if you can hit the guy,
I'll buy that.
Yeah, because if you can hit the guy with a straight punch, you might be keeping him on the outside.
Right.
If you
but
can
that's
hit him
not
with
the pocket.
punch.
Okay, fine.
You know why it's not?
Listen, I'm very teachable.
Okay,
I'm not one of these dudes that can't be taught.
In a nutshell, if you can hit him, but he can also hit you, you're in the pocket. If you can hit him, but he can't hit you, you're outside of his striking distance. You're not in the pocket.
Okay, brother.
Outside.
Gotcha. That's a good listen. I'll take that to the bank. It made perfect sense. And obviously you have something on me in that area. My point is that he was aggressive enough. He did not run from contact, and he did what he was supposed to do, was keep him extended. Like I said before, the rounds that he lost, every single time he tried to look too cute, I can see why a judge wouldn't give it to him. But that doesn't change why any judge would give Valdez any of the first 5 rounds. Anyone.
I'll say, I looked on the card, right? I noticed that the 117, 111 judge, he filled out his card in the parking lot. Judge. That card, I skimmed through the whole card, through every score and every round that he gave, and I'm like, he gave.
It's one of the worst scorecards you've ever seen. Let's just put it blunt, because he didn't have any equality to anybody else.
He gave Oscar the first round.
He was the safety judge. He was the one that was going to ensure the
insurance policy judge.
He was going to be the safety judge that was going to ensure the draw. So let me just tell you this, because I know that my phone starts crackling and stuff, and I don't really, you know what I mean? So the other thing that I was getting at my post, and why I was so invigorated in my post, and now because I'm reacting to the commentary, right? Mm-hmm. So I can't stand this to be lied to. Don't tell me that what I'm watching is not what I'm watching. You understand? And it was really obvious to me that Timothy Bradley, Andre Ward, and the whole damn team at ESPN are too invested in the Valdez outcome into building the Valdez-Shakur Stevenson fight, and what they could not see, what would have been disastrous, is for Conceição to win, because Conceição versus you imagine Conceição versus Shakur Stevenson? Unwatchable. Okay? So Valdez versus Herring would have been okay, because Herring, military, and all this other crap, fine. So they can't afford that. So I'm hearing this commentary, I'm like, you can't lie to me. This is pissing me off. Because you're not saying, and when you're telling me that Conceição was getting tired, and this is tired?
Yeah.
Tired?
I noticed
that motherfucker wasn't tired.
Nah,
that motherfucker got stupid.
Bro. Alexis, you got to chill. Bebe, agua con azúcar. Cálmate. Agua con
no,
azúcar.
Because you're accusing me, man.
Espera un momento.
You're accusing me, man.
Un momento, coño.
Yo, Black Lives Matter, bro.
Qué mierda.
Espera. Tú no lo notaste. Lo que yo estoy diciendo es, this is what I'm saying. At least on my card and some of the judges, the reason that you have to give Conceição the better half of those first 5 rounds is because he wasn't waiting. He wasn't waiting for Oscar. Like, no, I'm not going to wait for you to jab and set something up and back me into the ropes. I'm going to get off my jab and I'm going to back you up. And then after I back you up, I'm going to bring over some other stuff. I saw him touch Valdez with jabs up top, jab to the solar plexus, jab to the midsection. He was not waiting. That's how you got to fight the whole fight like that. Whereas after round 6, you got complacent. Now you fighting reactionary a little bit. Not exactly like a Danny Garcia, but the same underlying principle. You're reacting to what he's doing. If he comes forward, you step back. If he throws a shot, maybe you slip it, maybe you roll it, maybe you weave it, maybe you ride it. But you're just reacting now to what he's doing. You're not taking it to him. You have to take it to him. Don't wait. You have to take it to him because you're in Tucson, Arizona. You got deducted a point in the 9th round without a fucking warning. Shouldn't that be telling you? Should be telling you something.
That was the safety deduction. Safety deduction. Just in case these guys ain't seeing it, let's deduct a point from that man.
Oh, and you know what? Look, you know how. Look, I'm gonna give you an idea, right? I'm very cynical when it comes to boxing, more than people realize. Josh Taylor is a vicious rabbit puncher, vicious. Watch them fights at the SS Hydro. Watch them shits at the SS Hydro. Watch the Ryan Martin fight. Watch the Postol fight. All kinds of punches sail to the back of the guy's head. But why don't I cry about it? Because I have common sense. I'm not fucking stupid. I'm not stupid. They're going to let him get away with that. I'm not fucking stupid. If you don't like that, don't watch boxing because it's going to happen. It's going to happen. And you have to fucking deal with it. And if I know that in my living room watching the fight, you know that as a fighter. I'm in his neck of the woods, bro. I'm in the shit. So if I'm willing to go into his neck of the woods to fight him, I adopt the responsibility of whatever comes. And it's always been that way. It has never been different. It's not different in the amateurs either. It's not different. If you don't want to have no common sense, jódate entonces. But that's boxing.
You got it. We got it. All right, brother.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to say my piece. Now you know exactly what my view on it. That deduction was crazy. Not deducting Valdez for a real punch to a rabbit punch was crazier. And then taking everything into consideration, how in the world did any judge give any of the first 5 rounds to Valdez? That's all I got to say.
All right, Alexis, to your point, right? We live in a sport. You saw Mayweather versus Canelo, right?
Yeah.
114, bro.
Yeah.
We had to live with.
Yeah.
You know, do you kind of get like somebody really tried it. Like they really tried it. Like,
come on. I mean, even more recently, look at Kieran Conway versus Suleiman Sissoko. One judge had that 97-92 Conway. He lost 9 rounds in that fight by like 20 punches.
But can I just say one more thing before I leave Ring IQ? That fight shows you exactly how stacked Top Rank is at 130. When a Robert Conceição performs like that. And I said that before the fight. I said, this guy's not a pushover, man. That dude can really, really box.
Look. Robson Conceição, I don't care what Oscar Valdez goes on to do. I don't care. I don't give a shit, right? That guy is always going to give him a problem. That is a bad style matchup for Oscar.
Woo!
Bad. It's been bad since the amateurs. It's been bad.
Just got his number.
And if he had problems with Conceição, how's he going to touch Shakur Stevenson, bro?
Bruh, like,
That's
and
what I
look,
was just
look.
about to say.
Now, y'all look. Let me read the super chat, then let me make my point. Look, bro, it was a decent fight, first 6 rounds, but this has Canelo and Lara written all over it. I don't see how you beat a champ. Eso es lo que yo estoy diciendo. Now, let me make a point. On paper, and based on what I've seen, Jamel should be able to give Shakur a lot of problems. He should be able to give him some problems. He should. But I'll go as far as saying, and I've said this already on several lives and several videos. Yo, they might jerk him. They might. Because
Harry's gonna get knocked out, bro.
You think he's gonna get knocked out?
You know why? Let me tell you something, bro.
Nah.
Let me tell you something. Harry, I don't believe the man. He's spiritually strong. Harry doesn't have the reflexes to get out of the way of a Shakur Stevenson punch. Shakur Stevenson hits a lot harder than people think because he's prone to hitting people with punches they don't see. That's why they don't attack him. That's why between his defense and and his opponent's unwillingness to catch something they can't see coming makes for boring fights. That's what happens. But what's going to happen with Harry is that Harry's going to go into the ring with something to prove, and he's like that. So he's going to be like you say, in the pocket and comfortable. He's actually going to try to make a fight out of it and prove a point. And that's going to get him knocked out. That's the way I see it.
Hot take. Mark,
All
how do you
right,
have to
brother.
fight?
Yo, no vemos, mi pana.
I think Shakur has more to prove.
Mark, how do you have to fight?
I don't think there's absolutely any chance Shakur knocks out Harry. I think I don't care if you go swinging in at Shakur. That dude punched a woman in the back of her head at a parking lot, and she looked at him. You don't have power. You don't have any power. And don't tell me Nicotila counts. Don't tell me Nicotila counts. Nicotila's awful. I've been watching Nicotila. I seen him against Turbanov, a feather-fisted dude who was able to drop him 3 times. So,
Alexis, if you're hearing this, Alexis, Shakur came with that Black Lives Matter energy prior to that Nicotilia fight. A part-time security officer. What happened?
Look,
he kept jabbing him. He kept
where's Alexis
from the
gone?
outside.
Alexis dropped off.
Oh, damn, I wanted to make a bet with him.
Okay.
I wanted to make a bet on does it go the distance or not.
He's on Twitter. I'll point you in the right direction. Leo, what is that fight going to look like?
Stevenson versus Harry? Are you asking?
Shakur on point.
Look. Yeah, but listen.
That's how I see it going. If it goes to distance, Shakur on points. If it goes to distance.
Some people compare Shakur Stevenson with Floyd Mayweather.
Oh, for fuck's sake.
Floyd Mayweather.
He ain't no Floyd Mayweather.
Floyd Mayweather used to do something that in any boxing gym they tell you not to do because it's too dangerous. If you are out of range, you don't jump with a punch. You don't jump with a straight right. You don't jump into range with a hook. You don't do it because if you get caught in the middle of that jump, you're getting dropped. Floyd Mayweather was that motherfucker. He jumped. He has that. Maybe in the past, I don't know now, but he has that instinct that put himself into danger. Shakur Stevenson doesn't have that. He's gonna see the range of Jermel Herring. He's gonna see the punching power. I think he has some, and he's gonna choose to pick him out from the outside. That's how the fight is gonna look.
That's what I think is gonna happen.
Down, because it's not gonna put himself in danger to try to knock him out. In the inside, like walking into Jermel punches, trying to sleep and counter. No, he's not gonna do that. He's gonna pick his shots, circle away from the ring, a points decision. And that's it.
Is it going to be a boring points decision? Are we going to get action, or is it going to be a complete chess match?
I think it's going to be boring.
I think it's going to be more negative. I think that it's going to be more negative than my HIV test.
I hope so.
Right. I mean
that shit was negative.
I mean, shit. All right. I mean, shit.
Oh,
It may start out as it may start out boring, but it may get entertaining as the fight goes on. Baby.
Look, hey, it could start out as my HIV test, and by the end of it, it could turn into Tommy Morrison's. I'm not betting on it. I ain't betting on that.
I'm intrigued by the fight. I won't lie to you. I really want to see the fight. It's two very good southpaws. Both got a good jab. Jamel's got power. Shakur's got speed. I just want to know if anybody's going to decide to make it a fight.
No, I think Herring's going to try to.
Yeah.
I think Herring's going to try to. I think Shakur's got a lot of excessive movement, knows how to use his range well, and will make it negative. If we get into the way we want to discuss how boxing is scored, right?
Mm-hmm.
If there is within one punch there per round, kind of Fury Klitschko-y, right? One punch difference per round, they're all going to go to Shakur. There's too much stock been put into Top Rank, like by Top Rank into Shakur. Because let's take a look at even the first hit situation. Shakur's the A side without even doing arenas or ticket sales, just based off of how much Top Rank pay him. So the amount of investment they put into him, they're not about to just kick him to one side for a dude that can't sell anyway.
Tough time.
So it's going to be Shakur. It's going to be Shakur on points. He can't knock out Jamel. Jamel's going to give him a few hairy rounds, but for the most part, it's going to be dull. It's going to be uninteresting, and anything that comes in there from excitement is when Jamel says, right, I need to unleash the kitchen sink, and they'll be the rounds he'll win. He'll probably look dominant in 3 or 4 of the rounds, but Shakur will just pick up the other 8, and people will be like, oh, he didn't even try to win. Well, there you go. That's how it's going to go.
We have to talk about something uncomfortable now, Mark. Something very uncomfortable makes me uncomfortable.
Oh man!
Oh, come on!
You fucking dickhead!
We got to talk about this.
Don't disrespect that man like that.
Where did you get that image? That's amazing. Holy
I was there.
Bro, that looks like you took it with your own eyes, and you don't, and your eyes can't even open.
Guys, I have to make a confession. I am a mutant. I'm one of the X-Men. I'm Nightcrawler. I crawl at night. I crawled into Triller, watched the fight, took that picture. This is fucking embarrassing for more reasons than one. It hurt my heart to see that happen to Holy. That hurt my heart to see that happen to him. It really did. Because
one of the greatest fighters of all time, by the way. I know last night doesn't tell. There's a lot of new generation fans who don't know who he is. People who know who he is, we know what this man was. A 2-way undisputed champion. A 4-time heavyweight champion. One of the greatest fighters of all time.
One of the greatest fighters of all time, and he shouldn't have been in there. And it's an indictment on boxing. I choose to be a little bit more angry about it than most. It's an indictment on American boxing. I don't see the Brits pulling Frank Bruno out of retirement. I don't see the Brits pulling Joe Calzaghe and Carl Froch. I don't see them pulling him out of retirement either. David Hayes always been a slut, so he doesn't count. I don't count him.
I'd love Carl Froch to come out of retirement and fight a YouTuber. He'd fucking kill one because he's still fit.
Carl still beat the shit out of somebody. Don't get it twisted now. But we see that these circus fights are geared towards what is mostly an American audience. And I use this as an indictment on American boxing that because of the network executives that don't make the fights that we ask for, because of the fighters that don't want to take a chance on those fights, this is what's going on. This is not the cause of the problem, but this is a symptom of that problem. Because this wouldn't be going on if Spence and Crawford and Andre and Charlo and everybody that need to fight was fighting. You can't sell this bullshit if you got Javante and Teofimo in there. No, you can't. Motherfuckers, you know they're not going to spend no money on that bullshit. But these guys think that people will spend money on this because there ain't no stars in boxing right now, save Canelo. It ain't no other stars. Now, if you know, well, look, in November, we got the Javante Davis versus Teofimo Lopez, little short, strong guy fight, right? We can't try to sell no bullshit in November. And in October, we got the motherfucking Charlo versus Andre, Kevin Garnett body fight, because they both some lanky motherfuckers. They both built like Kevin Garnett. we got that fight in October. We can't sell no bullshit in October. If the fights that needed to happen were happening, these people would not have the stones or the cojones to try to sell this bullshit. They have the cojones to do it because of what's not happening in boxing.
You know, I look at what Triller is doing with these cars construction, and I think like I don't know what kind of meth lab they're running over there in Florida that they decided, hey, let's do a fight over there. They just like I said, you know, Texas doesn't deserve boxing. Florida doesn't deserve boxing. You're watching a 58-year-old man fight another fighter. Yeah, granted he's younger, but like still out of his prime. And for him to celebrate it like he beat you know an in prime Holyfield, I'm like, that's just shameless.
It's mediocrity, bro.
It's not cutting into the yeah. I hear the objection to this problem. Yes, particularly this with Holyfield, right? And they're not getting to the heart of the problem, which is these people have money issues, right? I was suggesting that basically these boxing commissions for all the you know money that they've made off of these fights, right? Reinvesting in these retired fighters with pensions. I'm not asking for a union, but I'm just asking for like a statewide or nationwide pension for these retired fighters because you don't want to see this guy fight again. You know, fight again. You don't want to see Riddick Bowe drive the bus. You know, you don't want to see these things. You know, you don't want to see these people put in a predicament where
Riddick
they
die in a
can
boxing
suffer
ring.
more.
Riddick will fucking die.
And he's
Exactly.
fighting Lamar Odom.
Yeah. You don't want them to put, you know, you don't want these fighters in these predicaments, these financial predicaments where they have to for themselves to do the only thing that they know how to do, which is fight. Take care of them.
I'm gonna say this. Yesterday's circus fight was almost like a Life Alert advertisement. That's how Evander looked out there. I've fallen and I can't, you know what I mean? I don't want to see him like that. I take no pleasure in seeing him like that, right? And that's the Florida Commission's fault. The others, I heard that they tried to get the fight done in another. I think it was in California. California wouldn't do it.
Yeah. No other states would actually sanction it. Only Florida.
It had to fucking be Florida.
Dude, New York paid them 20 years ago. You cannot fight anymore because you're too old.
It's fucking wild out here.
Guys.
Let me read the super chat. All active participants in today's American boxing scene are why these circus fights happen. Viva Spider Silver. Drew says, Jules, we're going to talk about those because there's preliminary numbers out. We're going to talk about those, believe you me. This fight is an indictment on American boxing, no other boxing scene, because this isn't going on in any other boxing scenes. It's only happening here. It's not happening in other parts of the world. It's really only happening here. We don't see these dumbass circus fights in the UK. We don't. I don't see Frank Bruno versus a elephant in the United Kingdom. That's not happening. Only in America, just like the Rocket. Only in America. Only here do you see this dumb shit.
Yeah, Ring. Earlier on, I was hoping you was gonna get Franchon Cruz on to talk about why her fight got left off the card.
Oh yeah, I wanna get her on. I want to get her on. I believe that what's going on, and I could be wrong. I'm not sure. I could be wrong. But my gut tells me that what Triller might have did was they might have pulled the fight because they want to put her on Lopez versus Kambosos. I don't know. Once again, I don't know that, but I believe that's why they pulled the fight. And I hope that's the case. If that's not the case, Sky Sports needs to invest in Franchon Cruz and Aline Cedar-Ruz, and they need to pick up that fight because the winner of that fight is a great opponent for either Savannah Marshall or Clarissa Shields. Clarissa already fought Franchon, but that was in their pro debut, and that was years ago. That was in 2016. They could do a rematch for the Undisputed at 168. I don't see what the problem is. So if Triller rather have these old men falling down on their feet instead of investing in actual boxing matches, go ahead, let Sky and Boxer pick it up.
I mean, can you guys believe that Sean Porter was doing commentary and he actually said Holyfield looked good?
That's wild. This wild.
I can believe it. I mean, unbelievable.
It's fucking wild out here, bro.
This shit is crazy. This shit is crazy.
I have a question. I have a question
Leo.
For the people here. I know it's a delicate subject, but in this situation, how much Evander Holyfield has a responsibility
A
in
lot.
this
A
circus?
lot.
He does.
In,
Yeah,
in
some
all
would blame
honesty,
Kool-Aid his feet.
to get back into the conversation we were even having earlier, blaming everybody else when we know what businesses and sanctioning bodies are like, that's altruism. At the end of the day, that old bastard has everything. It's his fault. He wants to do it. I get the idea of people like, oh, they're being forced. No, they're being offered. It's up to him to make that decision. It's on him.
No, look. Now, once again, common sense, right? Anybody that knows this sport knows all these guys think they got one more big fight. Riddick Bowe thinks he has one more big fight. Riddick fucking Bowe that can barely form a cohesive sentence. He thinks he
Who
has.
can't stand, by the way, who can't stand properly on his own.
James Toney has a fight coming. James, I love James. James thinks.
I'm more worried about Jeremy Williams in that fight, by the way, because Jeremy Williams had CTE before his career even ended. And he's fighting James.
All I'm saying is every one of these guys that's retired and the guys that are out there, they all seem to think that they have one big fight in them. They all do. And I'm not negating that Evander Holyfield, as a grown man, has his role to play. It is some of this he's responsible for, but it's up to the commission and it's up to the system the same way it's up to the ref to protect the fighter. It's up to the ref in the ring to protect the fighter when the fighter cannot protect himself. It's up to the commission to do the same thing. You should not license this man to fight. What the fuck were you thinking? He goes out there and he dies.
May I?
Holyfield. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, as far as today's boxing goes, right? From what I can see, I just seen a world championship fighter with a dude who took a performance improving drug, PID, and was allowed to fight. So, looking at it and looking at where these sanctioning bodies are, I don't really see why I would be under the illusion that they're there to protect the fighters when they're showing they're not anymore. They used to be, or supposedly.
Well, that's the thing, Mark, and I really don't want to sound like I'm protecting Valdez. I really don't. But that situation with him is virtue signaling at its finest. At its finest. Because if you look this stuff up, you'll see in plain fucking English. The Pasquayaki Commission, amongst many other commissions, they go for the water protocol. The water protocol says that that's not a banned substance out of competition. That's what Oscar was in. He was out of competition. What I demanded, or at least what I think would have made the situation right, is if the WBC would have stripped him, because they should have. You can't use what the commission is doing as a safety net. You
exactly
work with VADA. You work with VADA. That's who the clean boxing program is helping you run. You know, that's who helps you run that. Okay, then he needs to be stripped. If the fight goes on, the fight don't go, whatever. He needs to be stripped. Now you didn't do that.
How's everybody doing?
Troy.
Hey, bless up. You know, this is why boxing needs a union, and it also needs a pension plan. Which, in all honesty, I'm working with a. Thank you. I'm working with a boxing charity called Ring 10, and we're working very hard at getting a union for boxing, because at some point there should be a cutoff age that says, okay, you can't do this anymore, right? And
I think it should be I think it should be named the Foreman cutoff. Why Foreman? He won a world title at 46 years old, but you have to meet a certain number of requisites. You cannot be fucking inactive and decide, yeah, let me fight. No. George had his comeback wasn't quick. It was years. He had several fights before he fought Ray Mercer. He had several fights before he fought Evander Holyfield. It wasn't overnight.
No, he came back like maybe, I think he was 36, 37 when he came back, and he fought some like C-level competition. Then he fought Cooney. Then he moved up and got the Holyfield shot. But I'm sorry. Yeah, he got the shot with Holyfield. But to be honest with you, I don't want to see James Toney. I don't want to see Jeremy Williams. I don't want to see Holyfield. And also, Julius, you were right, man. I mean, if these fighters nowadays would actually fight and get the fans all engaged in these big fights that we want to see, you wouldn't see these guys coming back. Because if you go back to the 90s and the early 2000s, you didn't see anyone coming out of retirement. I mean, George Foreman did, but who else? George Foreman and Larry Holmes. Those are the only two.
This is the thing, Troy. When George and Larry came back, they wasn't dicking around. I mean, I got Larry. I don't know why I got Larry and George confused. It was Larry that fought Ray. When they came back, that wasn't dicking around for a payday. Those was real comebacks. When Larry came back, he worked his way back to where he fought Ray. When George came back, he worked his way to where he had that motherfucking Holyfield fight. And that's the fight that made people take him seriously. Like, yo, this dude is serious. Like, he really trying to win a title. And he goes on from that to have the Michael Moorer fight. Those wasn't these weirdo, like Oscar's comeback. That's not a comeback. That wasn't going to be a comeback or whatever. That was you versus an MMA guy. That's all that was. You versus it. That's not a real comeback. You're not really coming back. You know what I mean? Like, you fight an MMA dude. How is that a comeback? Sergio's comeback is more of a comeback, I should say, than Oscar's or than Evander's. You know what I mean? There should be a cutoff that, look, you have to have been active the last 3 years to be approved, and you have to have been winning. If you're on a losing streak, no, we're going to revoke your boxing license at 46 years old. We're going to cut it off because this is wild. This is wild. That man is 58 years old.
Holyfield. Yeah. Holyfield.
I like that, actually, Julius. I like it.
Yeah. I just want to say real quick is that Holyfield is 6 years away from making Social Security, and he sounds like he's 91.
Bro,
this is really yeah.
Let me read the super chat. The Showtime give Paul 20 mil mean they're done with boxing next year? I mean, I think they're embellishing what they're giving him, and I think that they've been embellishing the success of his pay-per-views, because if you ask around the Askren pay-per-view, there's people that'll tell you it didn't do $1 million. They lied. Drew says, Jules, will they give Anderson Silva a title shot at the WBA? Might. They might. You know what I mean? Oh, we got another super chat. Let me see. I just passed it. Emmanuel says, love your analysis. Keep it up, bro. Thank you. I appreciate that, bro. It would be harder to try to market these circus fights if the fights that we need as consumers, you wouldn't have the audacity to put on Holyfield versus Belfort if the same month, for example, you got Davis versus Lopez, or Haney versus Garcia, or Andre versus Charlo. No, you wouldn't have. You'd be like, nah, we can't do that. We're gonna lose bread. But they think that it's money out there for them because of how fucking dry it is out here. They're like, yo, dog, it's only really one star, Canelo. It's only really one fight, maybe 1 or 2 fights that people are waiting for. Other than that, the rest of the time, people playing with some doodle in a stick. You just pussyfooting around. Benavidez versus Uzcategui. The fuck? You should be. You know what? If I'm PBC, hey, listen, let's get Zerto over here and let's do this. Let's motherfucking do this. You don't need a belt to sell that fight. Are you nuts? You don't even need a belt to sell that fight. Zerto versus Benavidez for the bragging rights in the Southwest. That fight sells. Believe that. That fight sells. You got Gary Russell, Leo Santa Cruz, both on the same side of the street. Motherfuckers gave up on that fight. But there was a time when that fight would have did good business. It was a time. And you let all these fucking good-ass fights, you let them all go stale, giving us this bullshit, this substitute shit. And that's why these dickheads at Showtime think, yeah, let's invest in Jake Paul. Let's pay Jake more than we paid Clarissa. That makes sense. Because he has Instagram followers.
They signed Jake Paul because of the hoopla that Triller was throwing out for this kid. And now, you know, that's the recipe for selling boxing fights in the immediacy that there are no fucking big fights being made. Is let's grab this fucking celebrity out of retirement, whatever the fuck he's doing, and put him up against a social fighter, you know, and sell that shit. I mean, come on, man. I mean, Triller is like the fucking Taco Bell of boxing program. It's like it's so fucking low rent.
Bro,
people
Triller
cannot
is a
see that
TV
shit.
dinner. Triller is a burrito from Aldi.
It's the Jerry Springer show. It's the Jerry Springer show.
It's not even Springer. It's Steve Wilkos. It's the Steve Wilkos of
Steve
Morning Live.
Wilkos, exactly. It's just like you
wild
said.
out
If these
here.
fights would have been made, it would have been dumb to just even conceive that fight being made.
And then look, if it's me, like if I'm Ryan Kavanaugh, look, Steven Seagal, I know you and Jean-Claude Van Damme got your differences. What say let's make a little bit of money off this shit. I'm gonna get, you know what I mean? I'm gonna get like, yo, 50, you talk wild shit. Why you don't go in that ring and fight Ja? Go fight Ja, because you talk mad shit. And I'm gonna put you on blast. Like, if you don't take the fight, I'm gonna make money off you regardless. If you don't take the fight, I'm gonna expose you. Like, yo, we offered 50 motherfuckers saying this dude talk wild shit about everybody on Instagram. We offered this cat $3 million. Go in there and beat the shit out of Ja. Easy work. You can't do that for 3? You can't do that for 3, but you can sit there and write a script. You full of shit. I'm gonna put you on blast. And I'm gonna get the people that got beef. Like, if I'm gonna do a celebrity boxing circuit, I'm gonna get the people that got beef. I'm gonna call Lil Flip. Yo, Lil Flip, we got T.I. on the phone. What's good? Do y'all want to hash that shit out or what? Y'all really want to do this shit?
Chris Brown, Soldier Boy.
Y'all was talking all that shoot 'em up, bang bang. Nobody got shot, but y'all can fight it out though.
Listen,
they
can have all the celebrity fights they have. I don't want in competition real boxers being involved in that shit. Like, I really had to have a fucking lengthy conversation with Post Salad Opinion over fucking Michael Hunter going to a $30 app, service to fight nobody.
And he gonna suffer. He gonna suffer. Let me 50 not a different weight class than Ja. Have you seen Ja? Ja is running around at least 200 pounds these days. At least 200. 50 ain't but a little old 220 something. He is not a big guy. He's 220 something. Like, he ain't that big to where they're in a different weight class.
Let me say this too, Julius. When you have fighters like Floyd that actually step in and fight these guys, that's like a stamp of approval, because he's supposedly viewed as the face of boxing for this era. Now, if guys like him would step out and say, well, nah, I ain't gonna do this, I'm gonna focus more on boxing, I have a promotion company and I'm trying to build a company, then you wouldn't see this type of nonsense.
Bro, look Floyd should be ashamed of himself. Rolly Romero running around here looking crazy with Anthony Yiggy. And that's your fighter. Like, we think of him as being Leonard's fighter more than Floyd's, but Floyd, that's your fighter. That's a TMT fighter. Looking crazy with Anthony Yiggy. Looking wet, just crazy. Like
I think there are better ways to keep the public interested. Yeah. Look at David Benavides. If you give him a John Ryder, like 1 year ago, John Ryder is out of the picture because he's moving out. But Callum Smith went to war with John Ryder. Gave him a David Benavides. Make him cross the street to the PVC, beat the shit out of him, sácale la mierda.
Sí.
And you can keep the public interest. You can cross compare. Look at Virgil Ortiz did. He beat my machine in better fashion. Now people are hype.
Look. If I'm PBC, I'm like, look, David, we're gonna let you expand your horizons and see what's out there for you. You're still one of our fighters because we believe in you and we think you're a great fighter. And I do think he's a great fighter. And I tell that guy, look, we're gonna see if we could get a fight for you across the street because we're wasting money on your fight. What do I mean by that? Nobody's interested in seeing you fight Uzcategui. We're literally wasting money doing this. We're wasting money. Nobody's interested in that fight. The same applies to Jermall Charlo. Why waste money on Charlo versus Montiel and its operational costs? Send him to Matchroom. They'll pay for the fight. And if he wins that fight because some people believe that he can, then he comes back. He's the shit. It's Jermall Charlo. He got the belts, the 2 belts, WBO, WBC. No, y'all rather waste money on fights that ain't nobody even watching. Ain't nobody watching that shit. Who the fuck do you think cares about that shit? I don't. Show of hands on the panel. Who care about the Montiel fight?
Not me.
I don't even know who that is.
Thank you, Troy. Show of hands in the chat.
And that's the problem.
Who cares about Charlo versus Montiel? Who's impressed by that shit?
Yeah, I know
How do you
Montiel
expect to get? How do you
is
expect to get
as
views if you're
awesome.
fighting nobodies? Like,
No, nobody want to see you literally making fights. Look, everything costs. So if you make a fight, it costs money, and you spending money, legit spending money on fights. Don't nobody give a fuck about. What, are you an idiot? Well, like, what's wrong with you? Are you an idiot? You're not building Charlo by putting him in there with Adams or putting him in there with motherfucking Montiel. He is who he is at this point. At this point, it's time for the big fights. And if you can't give him one, it is your fiduciary duty to let him go out there and get one. And I believe you stopping him from doing that. That's what I believe.
You said something right there. You said you're not building, but we talking about fighters that are in their 30s. There's no more building.
Thank you, Troy.
How the hell are you still building in your 30s?
They should be a finished article. They should be a finished article by now.
Not finished, but they should be working on building a legacy at this point. You know, you worked hard to get here. Now it's time to get here. And there's nobody out there that's really, honestly, it's nobody out there that's really a household name. Alvarez is good because he has a country behind him. Anthony Joshua is good. He has his own country, but you can't tell me there's a fighter out there now that just rolls off the tongue of any casual fan just like that. There isn't.
Right. And look, the American boxing scene, right? And I say this about the American one because if I look over to the UK, they still doing it the traditional way. If I look over to Russia, they still doing it the traditional way. The African boxing scene actually has a developing boxing scene that, they got Lunga chilling. Lunga over there I think he's from the Democratic of the Congo, and he chilling. He got his WBC title. All these other boxing scenes around the world, UK, Africa, Japan, the Far East, even the Middle East has some things that they doing right now. The one that I see that's like, y'all cats is wilding is the American one. Like, what are you doing, bro? What the fuck are y'all doing? You actually have fights that people want to see, and y'all not trying to, like, no, we're not going to do that. I'm not going to make another company great. What are you, an idiot? Then why are you in this business?
It's a stupid comment, isn't it, Julius?
It's a fucking stupid, like, why would you be afraid that you're going to make a company great? What do you think, your guy's going to lose?
Yeah. Julius, my point was you don't need to make a fight with a champion from another company. You can give him a contender from another company. You can build your fighter, cross-comparing other performances with other champions, and make the possible fight even greater. If you want to catch out after 2 years, the fight va a valer más dinero.
Lo que yo voy a decir es esto. Top Rank, and I'm going to say it again. I've said it before, and I'm going to keep saying it till the boxing gods do it. Top Rank and PBC need to merge and take Golden Boy with them.
Good luck with that.
Yep.
Look, the enemy of my enemy is my friend. Who is your enemy? Eddie Hearn and his global app. That's your enemy. That's your enemy. The only way that guy, now he's reached a point, and that app has reached the point to where they're not worried about America anymore. They're global. So you can take this market back and own it, right? You can do that because you don't have it right now. What you have right now is YouTubers that feel confident enough to go into the world of boxing because of what you're not.
Remember that super chat I sent?
Look. You think
it's an outsourcing.
I'm gonna ask a question. You think Jake Paul would pull these gimmicks when Mike Tyson was around and all his crazy shit?
He would stay right in his place. He would stay right in his place.
He'd be quiet.
Just stay the fuck away.
No, but let me say this real quick, Julius. Don King and Aaron Bob Arum, right? Mm-hmm. In all reality, those two wanted to kill each other.
They did, but they went together.
No. But you know what the equalizer was? Boxing and money. When it came to a big fight that would make big money, I have no problem with working with that damn fool.
They compromise.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Okay.
That's how it's supposed to be.
Nowadays they chop off their nose to spite their face, which is us, the fans.
Thank you. Motherfuckers are scared to know. Well, I'm not, because to me the fight is dead, and that's where the fight is to me. But
all fights are dead.
Really scared. Motherfuckers was really scared of Spence losing to Crawford. Bro, maybe he wins, but make the fucking fight. Now the fight ain't no good. This dude is a train wreck. He's getting his retina detached in sparring. He got into a car accident. He's a train wreck. He's a train wreck. I don't give him. I don't even want. I'm like, bro. What's even the point? What's even the point, right? But there was a time when that was the fight, the American fight with the American fighters that show promise, and y'all let that shit die so we could watch Mikey Garcia. Fucking idiots, fucking morons.
I mean, didn't Eddie Hearn say that the Plant fight first collapsed because Al Heyman did like him?
Yeah, he didn't. They didn't want him to be in on the deal. Stupid shit.
And that explains why so much fights with him have collapsed over the years. That would explain it.
Look, I have a long itemized list of fights that Al Heyman fucked up, and people wonder why. I'm like, yo, dog, that dude has not been good for boxing. I'm sorry, it shouldn't take. Like, we probably gonna end up getting Gary Russell versus Leo Santa Cruz, right? Probably next year, I think, because there's nobody left for them to fight. But that shouldn't have took as long as it did. He gets knocked out. This guy's inactive, and nobody gives a fuck about him. You're gonna wait all these years to do this goddamn fight when both of these fighters is your fighters? Are you a fucking moron?
They have no concept of momentum or continuity. It's all about destroying that, and cherry picking fights. Like, look, as much as I blame, Spence, I gotta blame Crawford too. Like, saying things like, "Oh, I don't need Spence," but at the same time saying things like, "Oh, I don't even know what Terrence Crawford is doing here." That doesn't inspire fans to watch you fight. It's like, yo, people put a lot of
trying to sell you
money.
everything. Trying to sell you everything but a boxing. Well, to me, Bob is, but believe it or not, Bob is still putting on fights that I like, because that motherfucking Luis Lopez fight with Ben Flores, with the Flores kid, Gabe Flores, yo, that was a good ass fight. That Lopez guy, he beat the shit out of it. That was a good ass fight. All right, Baranchik versus Zapata was a good ass fight, and they got some other good ass fights. So my beef ain't really with Bob. My beef is more with Al, because like, yo, you got fights like that you could make. Some is on the inside, some is on the outside, and you don't make none of them shits. None of them shits.
And the thing is, they don't have a carnival barker, like a front man, a real promoter that can actually promote fights there.
Nah.
It's very like arbitrary, very black box. You don't know who's running things, but like, you know who, but like they don't show you how the sausage is made.
Look, that dude should not be in boxing. And I'm gonna just say that, and I don't care who don't like it. Like, yo, that dude shouldn't be. You don't know what the fuck you doing. You selling everything for the goddamn fight. Motherfuckers want to see Davis in a fight, not Rolly Romero. They want to see him in a fight, and you don't want to put him in one. The fuck are you doing then? Then what are you selling? The fuck are you selling?
And to put it on pay-per-view, and to put it on pay-per-view as well. They're probably gonna put that on pay-per-view. So,
motherfuckers selling everything but a goddamn fight. You selling t-shirts, you selling crew necks, you got hats, hot dogs, you got all type of but you selling everything but a goddamn fight. You supposed to sell a fight, bro. And we don't care about Romero. Now, if you start talking about some Davis versus Lopez early 2022 or in summer 2022, yo, you'll get my money. I promise you'll get my money. And I promise you'll get other people's money too. Because that's going to be, y'all know I don't like tribalism. Y'all know I don't go for that. But the fact of the matter is, if those two guys, same fight, it's going to get very tribal and it's going to be a lot of money. The Spanish motherfucker's going to flip up. No, Lopez, baby. Teofimo Lopez. We got to go with Lopez. and it's the truth, bro. That's where the money at. Trinidad and Hopkins, when he took the Puerto Rican flag and stepped on it. Look at the reaction that shit got. Look at the reaction. That's what you selling, bro. You selling vitriol, you selling violence, and you supposed to be selling fights. You ain't supposed to be selling no motherfucking Mario Barrio. What the fuck?
He was in Puerto Rico when he did that, right?
He was in Puerto Rico when he did that.
He had to be thrown out by a chopper.
How can they sell us Barrios?
They had to get Chuck Norris to pick him up.
When Leonard Enderby doesn't even know who he is.
Leonard knows who he is. Leonard know who the hell he is.
Leonard's full of shit, man.
No, Leonard doesn't care.
Look. You got these dickheads. You had Oscar Valdez, right? Integrated himself into the 130-pound division before he fought Burchell, right? Al Heyman, dumbass, instead of like, we got, who we got over here? We got Leo Santa Cruz, and he got a WBA title. You know how much business you could have did with that fight, you fucking moron, you idiot. Santa Cruz versus Valdez would have done great business. What do? You feed him to this ass clown. You still trying to make him a star? Still? Can't you tell it's not working? Are you an idiot? Like I'm like, yo, they got to get that guy out of boxing. Like, yo, they got to get that guy out of boxing. You're a fucking moron. If you can't see that Valdez versus Santa Cruz would have did great business in 2019, yo, get out of boxing, bro. You don't belong in that shit. You and your fighters do not belong in boxing.
No, but you know who's really
in California? Do you know what kind of numbers that fight could have did? Nah, let me give him to Davis. Who the fuck?
No, they're just short.
But you know who's really to blame?
Yeah, Troy.
Yeah, the fans, because the more you accept it, then the more it becomes commonplace. And you also got to put blame on those of us who are content providers when we say that this is the way it is, and we focus more on not the fights, but saying, well, I'm in a league, and I can predict fights and I know boxing. So there's a lot of blame to go around, but it starts with the fans. If the fans just say,
I disagree with you.
What, as far as the fans?
Let me read the super chat. The Heyman Blueprint: use fighters' names to sell subpar fights, drain the fighters' purses, and pay them in fractions. That is what's going on. Use the names to build hype for fights that will never happen. This is why we can't blame the fans, Troy. If you looked at the metrics, when Terrence Crawford confronted Errol Spence Jr., right, when they was at that fight and they met up, the numbers were through the roof. Everybody was buzzing because, like, yo, that was like really the first time that we saw them in the same space, and it felt epic. It felt Hagler.
Smoke and mirrors.
It felt epic. And then what do these idiots do? Heyman gave me 4 names. He gave me Mike Garcia, and then he gave me Sean Potter, and then Manny Pacquiao. Like, I'm listening to like
ring. And also Spence said, remember he said about like, why would I fight you and I could take the easy route and fight Sean Porter? I wouldn't.
He said that, and I'm over it. I'm not good. I'm over it. But the metrics, the metrics for that fight, and the reaction that it had on the ground, which is where it needs to be, was through the roof. Everybody was lit. I'm talking about, I did videos that them weeks, great numbers. You looked at the fight hype videos, the ES News, everything was like you're buzzing off of that, just because they was talking to each other. What do? You let the fucking fight go cold. The fans is telling you, yo, make that fight. Nah, we gonna make Mikey Garcia.
Hey, Julius, do you remember when Jacobs walked up on Charlo? All that had the same feeling too. But whatever came of that, and both of them were with Al Heyman, and that fight still didn't happen.
Troy, that's the point I'm making. That like even Jacobs versus Charlo, there was a time when that was a fight. Like, ooh, I'll pay to see that shit. Jacobs versus Charlo, what you want? 60, 80? You got it. I want to see that fight. What do? You don't. Let's put Charlo in there with Centennial. Let's put him in there with Brandon Adams. Let's put him in there with Willie Monroe.
Who the hell is
Matt Korobov? Stupid, dumb shit. Like, yo, dog, like, why you in this business if you don't want to make fights? Because you don't want to make fights.
How do you expect to build a legacy off of those fights? I just don't get it. Like, bro.
Look, his fighters don't care about legacy. Let's get that out the way. But just business, which is what this is all about. How is it business heavy? How are you in the business of boxing and your business is to not make fights? Like, what is you Harvard graduated idiot? The business is to make fights. You don't want to do that.
Julius, I think Troy is right in this one because the fans change. They stopped capping for a fighter and started capping with a promotional company, with the PBC.
Mm-hmm.
Now they're justifying everything their fighters are not doing, because PBC, in all his intelligence, in all his wisdom, prevents some certain fights just because It's good for business.
Now I'm gonna tell you something, Leo. This is, and I say this a lot, but I think that a lot of people don't catch it. The people that you see arguing on Twitter, the people that you see arguing on YouTube, the PBC's unofficial street team, those are not consumers. They do not matter. Arguing with them is farce. Why do I say this? Because that contingent of people that are against those fights, they don't represent the paying public. We don't need to worry about that. The fans that pay, the ones like me, you, that's willing to, depending on the, got to be the right fight, right? Guys like us, we're telling you, make that fight and we'll pay. What do you do? You give us Mikey Garcia. Are you an idiot? Like at the height of popularity of that fight, the height of the I'm gonna do this.
Okay, Julius, this is my impression that what was happening back in the day. If you're not fighting the fight that you're supposed to fight with the right opponent, you can't get away from it. You get stopped in the street. Why you're not fighting him? What is happening? Why you're not fighting him?
That's fair. That the world's gone soft and they're letting. I mean, look, it's true. In the 90s, a guy like Charlo not fighting Andre, they wouldn't let you live it down. They would. They wouldn't. They wouldn't. They'd be all over you like, yo, you a ducker, you a coward, you pussy, you ain't shit. They'd be all over like, we don't care what Ronnie Shields said. What we hear is quack, quack, quack. Quack, quack, quack. Like, what kind of stuff? You in the hurt business. I don't like him, so I'm not going to fight him. What? That doesn't make sense. If you
that's
don't
all the more reason you should fight him.
Beat his ass.
Yeah, but the fans demanded some fights vigorously. You can't get away back in the day with not fighting a guy.
You couldn't.
Now, you jump on Twitter, you see, no, you can't fight with him. You don't need to fight with him because you make so much money and you don't need him. He needs you. That all that shit.
That's
because
real shit.
They start capping for a promotional company.
A big problem also is like how the trainers like Big John Fury. He was talking about his son Tommy. He did an interview. He was saying like how he was on a podcast. He was saying like how the fight with Jake interests us, but you know what? Let's wait till the fight gets really. Let's let it marinate a bit. Let's let it get really big.
Yeah, because everybody's a suit now. Everybody's a suit now. Everybody think they fucking work at. Yo, everybody acting like a network executive. Like, bro, I want to see fights, bro. Let's get that. Let's just get it straight. I am here to see fights and pay for them. That's what I'm here for. I have money. You want my money, so make the fights I want to see.
Bring, guys, right quick. Big John Fury did an interview recently. Lady Chad posted this video. Shout out to her. Big John Fury did an interview, and he was saying how Tyson Fury is he's in quarantine. He's not here right now. He's not around me. We're keeping Tyson Fury walks right by.
I seen it. That's what. Yo, dog, I'm done with them. I'm done with the Fury. I'm done with like.
Oh my god.
Y'all like you literally gonna sit there. I am not around Tyson right now. He's in quarantine. Tyson walk up right behind him like, yo, this is you couldn't make this shit up, B. This is wild.
I'm like, well, now we know where he gets it from, so yeah.
Anyway, gentlemen, I'm gonna wrap up this live because I'm getting hungry. See you on the next one, and stay safe out there.
Yes, sir. You too. All right, y'all take it easy.